Hey everyone, this is going to be a informational video slash user manual for the HH.357, and I'm going to try and cover everything you need to know in one video with the most recent information. So the first thing I want to go over are the styles and options available. The two connections available for the 357 are a 510 and 901. And then for both the 510 and 901, you're going to have the option for a short barrel or a long barrel. So here's the short here, and here's the long here. Real quick, the short barrel is going to give you a warmer vape, and the long barrel is going to give you a little bit of a cooler vape. The same goes for the 901, but there's a little bit less difference in the length of the tubes. So here you have the standard 901 length and the longer barrel 901. Again, warmer vape for the shorter barrel and cooler vape for the longer barrel. So those are the two standard options you can choose from. There's also the ability to choose a custom for a couple more dollars, and the options available in there are I believe there's some different colors. There's a blue, a green, and a red tube. You also can choose 510 or 901 as well as short or long barrel. But additionally, you can choose a VG option, a PG option, or a blend option. The blend option is the same as a standard 357 as far as how it's built. It's not compensating for any specific thickness of juice. It's just made to perform well with like a close to 50-50 blend. But if you order, if there's something that's not in stock at the time and you want to try and get it sooner than waiting for stock to pick up, you can go ahead and try and order it from the customs page. You might get it a little sooner. So onto the VG and PG options. I can build a 357 that's compensating for a thinner or thicker juice. So if you have a thin juice and you move the bottle side to side and that bubble shoots back and forth, it's really thin, more so than a 50-50 blend. You want to choose the PG option, so I can compensate for a thinner juice. If you have a thick juice and that bubble moves very slowly through the liquid, it's really thick, then I'd suggest going with the VG option, and again I'll compensate the filler and so on for a thicker juice, so you'll get a little bit better performance. So in short, the customs, you have the 510 901 connection, long and short barrel for both, color options, the blend option if we're not if we don't have something in stock and you want to try and get it more quickly, and then the ability to compensate for a more thin juice or a more thick juice by going with the PG for thin and the VG for thick. So next I want to move on to voltage range. These are going to be recommended. I wanted to put together some recommended voltage ranges for each resistance 357 that we offer right now. For the 1.5, recommended is a minimum of 3.6 and a maximum of 4.0 volts. For the 2.0, a minimum of 4.3 volts and a maximum of 4.8 volts. For the 2.5, minimum 5.3 volts, maximum 5.8 volts. And for the 3.0, minimum 6.4 volts, maximum 6.8 volts. So these are some recommended voltages for each resistance. Really the maximum is kind of like the ceiling. You might be able to go 0.1 volts above that. If you know, maybe 0.1 volts below the minimum, but try and stay in that range, because myself and others, believe that those ranges are where the 357 performs best. So I just wanted to give you an idea of where you could start with each resistance. As far as functionality of the 357, the main difference with the 357 is it's able to hold a small reserve of juice, and when you take a draw and produce a vacuum, that small reserve is brought up to the coil, it saturates the wick, and it makes sure that that coil is getting a constant supply of juice and has less tendency to run dry. So when we talk about the wicking of the 357, because it stores a small reserve of juice, it doesn't depend on that wick that runs through the center of the coil to absorb the juice. The juice is brought to the wick absorbs the juice, holds it there, and the coil has a constant supply. So you get a little better flavor and some better vapor. As far as the material used to create that reserve, the only additional material that's different than what you'd find in a standard atomizer is a stainless wool material, and the quality wool I use is always a 316L surgical grade stainless steel. It's very consistent. That's what I use in the 357s, and that's what helps me create that reserve there. So we have function-wise, we have a reserve underneath the coil, brings juice up, provides better wicking, and the different material that's used is a surgical grade 316L stainless steel. Next thing I want to go over is use. What do you need to know about the best way to use a 357? The first thing you want to do when you get a 357 is there's a primer in it that's pretty much a 50-50 blend of PG and VG. You want to blow that out. The best way to blow it out is just lightly take the drip tip end of your 357 and take just a little bit of paper towel and kind of curl it up and just put it lightly in the end, and that'll help absorb the juice that you're going to blow out. Blow it out from the connector. If you need to, go to another piece of paper towel and put it in again and blow it out again. Make sure that you've got a good amount of that primer out. You can go ahead and do that. And then once it's blown out, you feel like you've gotten most of the primer out, you want to check the resistance, double check that it's within 0.1 to 0.2 of the resistance that you purchased. If it goes really close to 0.2 ohms or more, then contact me and I'll give you the contact information later. But make sure the resistance is close to what you ordered. You're going to then fill with about 6 to 7 drops of your liquid. And make sure after 6 or 7 drops, make sure that you're getting that slight gurgle. It shouldn't be like a slurpy type sound. It should be like kind of a crackling, gurgling sound. Just lets you know that that reserve is full and it's bringing juice up onto the coil. And once you've got that gurgle going on, you're going to go ahead and set your voltage somewhere within the range, possibly on the lower side of the ranges that I gave you for your resistance atomizer, and do a couple short test pulls. Now when you thread the atomizer onto your device, a lot of times what we've noticed is that some devices with a solid center post, a center post that doesn't float and have any play, if you thread it down too tight if you thread the atomizer, the 357 too tight on the device, it can push the center pin of the atomizer up into the connector and break solder joints or push the center post too far and it won't make contact. So as far as threading goes, thread the 357 down on your device. You want to thread it on, and you want to get it till you feel some resistance there, like right there. You can tell that it's making connection, and then you want to just give it a little turn and make sure that it's snug and it's not going anywhere. And then on the ProVary, if you can see, probably can't see because of this camera, but there's just a very small gap. I didn't completely bottom the atomizer out. I just made sure again that it makes connection and then it's snug, but not all the way bottomed out. So once you've blown it out and checked your resistance, you filled with your 6 or 7 drops, you've got a gurgle going on inside the addy, you've got it threaded on snug like I showed you. You want to set your voltage closer to the minimum voltage range that I provided to you in the last section. And you're going to want to do just some short test pulls, not a full drag, but just maybe a small drag to make sure that you got enough juice in there, you're not getting any weird flavors, the addy's firing. And once you've done 2 or 3 test pulls, or you know, you've done some test pulls and you need more juice, go ahead and top it up with usually 1 to 2 drops, maybe 3, depending on how thick your juice is, where you like your vape. And then go ahead and take a good vape on it like you usually would. Again, if you've seen any of the last videos, the recommended draw is just a consistent, not overly fast, not overly slow. Just make sure that you're moving air through the atomizer and it's a nice consistent pull. And take a few of those and make sure that you're getting you know, just the flavor of your juice. Make sure that it's producing a decent amount of vapor. And then once you've got the hang of drawing on it, you can go ahead and maybe increase the voltage, try and experiment within the voltage range of what you like, what your juice likes, and where within that voltage range your addy, your device, and your juice perform best. So that's pretty much when you first get the atomizer, that's what you want to do. In short, you're going to blow it out with the paper towel. You're going to check the resistance, make sure it's within an acceptable range. Fill with 6 to 7 drops until gurgle. Set the voltage lower to the minimum range. Thread that addy on snug on the device, but not bottomed out. You're going to do a couple short test pulls, make sure everything's working correctly. You're going to top up if needed. Take a few good vapes with a consistent draw, and hopefully, if all is going right, you should be on your way to getting the addy broken in. A few points I want to make are to not power. Don't press that button unless you're pulling air through. Sometimes it's easy to, if you're chain vaping and you stop to inhale the vapor, that button stays down. If you're quick about it, it might not be that big a deal, but if you can, just while you do that short release and you're inhaling, just let go of the button for a minute, and then when you resume pulling air through the addy, press the button, because again, as soon as you stop pulling air and creating a vacuum, that juice is going to drop back down to the reserve. So if you can try and avoid that, it might give you a little longer of a lifespan. The coil is less likely to run dry. So next, I want to move on to cleaning. I'm gonna give you the method that I use that I think is the safest. It works best. But before I tell you that, I just want to let you know that we found that if you're using a dark juice and it has tendency to leave a residue on the coil rather quickly, and that residue builds up and builds up and builds up on the coil, it's going to eventually insulate the coil. The heat's not going to be able to transfer from the heating element, the coil, to your liquid, so you're going to get poor vapor, and probably if it's really caked up, maybe a nasty flavor going on. But eventually that coil is going to overheat because that heat is insulated because of the buildup, and it's not going to be able to transfer that heat to the juice, and eventually it's going to cause a premature failure. And unfortunately, you know, some of those darker juices are pretty tasty, and it's hard to let them go, but I always recommend maybe saving those juices for another type of addy that isn't so expensive to replace. That's what I do. You know, if I have a juice that I really don't want to give up, but that does clog addies, I just use maybe a cheap standard Addy, just so that I can replace it and still vape that juice. So I just wanted to point out that if you're getting that buildup, regardless of how much you clean it, if you don't take the Addy apart and scrape the carbon off of the coil, I haven't really found any cleaning method that's safe and doesn't use chemicals that can get that off. So if your cleaning isn't helping, I recommend contacting me, and I'd be more than happy to take the Addy apart if I can. If the coil's still in good condition but has carbon buildup on it, I can take the Addy apart, clean the coil, and rebuild it with some fresh filler and send it out to you. And I only charge you like a $5 fee for the shipping. As long as the coil still works properly and it's not burnt out, most of the time I can do that. So otherwise, cleaning, back on topic, what I do is I take the Addy from the drip tip end, I run some warmer water out of the tap, and I let that tap water just run through the Addy and clean out all the juice. Again, most of this juice is water soluble. It just takes about 20 seconds with some warm water, and it'll clean the any juice, old juice that's left in the wick. It'll clean out the filler and all that, and it'll get the Addy cleaned out really well. So after you've run some tap water through it for about 20 seconds, you can go ahead and, again, like when you first got the Addy, put some paper towel in the drip tip end, and just make sure you blow as much of that water out as possible. And if you need to get another section of paper towel, put it in. Just keep blowing it out until you take the paper towel out and the tip of the paper towel is somewhat dry. Once you've got it pretty much dried out, most of the water is out, there's going to still be a little water that's left in the wick that runs through the coil. So what I do is you can do two things. If you have some unflavored PG or VG or a blend of both, but it's unflavored, there's no nick, you can just fill it up as much as you want and take a couple pulls from it. Let the water that's in the wick mix with the juice, the liquid, the PG or VG, and then blow that out real good, and then fill with your liquid. Or if you have one liquid that you know you're going to be using in that Addy a lot, you can fill it up with that flavored liquid that you're going to be using, and 5, 6, 7 drops. Take a couple just powerless draws from it, mix the water with the juice, and then blow that out. And then what you're going to do is you're going to just go through the initial startup process again. You're going to blow whatever flush, PG, VG, your juice, you're going to blow that liquid out. You're going to fill again with 6 or 7 drops. And then what I do is I just give it a couple of quick clicks, power clicks, once I've threaded it on the device, and so that whatever's in the wick kind of sizzles off and it absorbs some of the fresh juice that you've put in. And then I blow that out again, fill with 6 or 7 drops of my liquid that I'm going to be using in that atomizer, and go ahead with the short test pulls, and if everything's functioning right, top it up and start vaping. And sometimes, depending on how much water was soaked into that wick and how much you blew out, you might need to vape it for about 20 minutes. But if you did everything right, the vapor will pick up and you'll get flavor back, and everything will be great. That's the method that I use, and that's the method that works best for me. I'm not using any chemicals. I'm not boiling the Addy. If you boil the Addy, it's going to melt some of the components that don't see that high of temperatures. Specifically, this cup here down in the bottom of the Addy. If you see this cup here, this cup, where is it? This cup here. This cup is just a thin plastic material. It keeps the wires straight. It keeps juice from flowing down in the connector, and if you boil it, this will disintegrate. So in short, best cleaning, the cleaning that I use, run warm tap water through the addy, blow the water out. If you want, you can rinse with some filtered water, blow that out, fill with a flushing liquid, whether it's PG, VG, or the liquid you're going to be using in the addy. Give it a quick couple of sizzles to get the wick to absorb some of the fresh juice and get the water out. Blow that out, fill with the liquid that you're going to be using, and go through the process of using it for the first time. A couple short vapes, make sure everything's working right, top up if needed, and go ahead and vape away. So that's my method of cleaning, and I've found that for me that works best. The last thing I wanted to go over is if you feel like you followed everything in this manual pretty well, you're still having some trouble with your addy, or if you know, everything goes well for the first little while of vaping and then you experience an issue, anything that's not covered in the video that you just saw here, what I want you to do is don't try and troubleshoot the addy. Just contact me as soon as possible. The best way to do it, and I've provided a link below this video in the info section, is to fill out a ticket on Avid Vapor in the ticket system. And in the subject, just write HH.357 and like a 1 or 2 word description of the problem. DOA, HH.357 DOA, HH.357 premature failure, HH.357 no vapor, HH.357 no flavor, something like that. And what will happen is when Cisco at Avid Vapor sees that ticket, he'll send it right over to me. And you'll be able to talk with me and I'll be able to work you through the problem. I might ask you a few questions, and if we can't get it worked out in the ticket system, what I'll probably have you do is send the atomizer to me so that I can take a look at it and get your issue figured out. Now with that said, there are some things that that we can replace or rebuild the addy for. Some of these things in short are leaking, no vapor, no flavor, a bad flavor, a dropped resistance more than about 0.02. I know I said maybe I can't remember if I said 0.2 ohms before, but I'm sorry, it is 0.2 ohms. So dropped resistance more than 0.2 ohms. An open circuit. If you put the addy on your device, like say the ProVary, and it tells you that it's an open circuit, the addy won't fire, that's acceptable. Even a dropped or damaged tube. If it's on your device and you drop it and the tube comes flying off or the tube is bent, don't worry about it. Don't try and put it back on. Just fill out a ticket, let me know what happened, and I'll most likely be able to fix it for you. The last two things are, if you notice anything strange with the draw, if you get a really stiff draw, it's really hard to pull air through, that's an issue you want to contact me for. Or if it's too loose. If the draw is really airy and you can't really get a good consistent draw from it, definitely contact me and let me know. So those are some of the things that definitely you can contact me for, and most likely if I can't get it worked out with you through the ticket system, I'll have you send me the atomizer and I'll be able to take a look at it and get it worked out. Once I get the atomizer, there are things that I look for. I will take it apart if it's dead, and I'll look at some things. If I find that there's really obvious evidence of it being damaged or tampered with, the coil is really way out of position, or something has obviously been stuck in the atomizer, I'll know it. I'll be able to see it. So if you went ahead and troubleshot the addy and you tried to straighten the coil or move the coil or scrape the coil, I won't be able to do anything for that because I can't replace the coil. The coil has to be in decent shape for me to do any type of rebuild. If I get the addy and the coil is covered in that buildup and I can't scrape it, if it's really baked on, and sometimes depending on how long it was used like that, the windings of the coil will get so hot that they'll fuse together, and once they've done that, there's really no saving the coil. If the wick has burnt or melted away completely, I mean, a lot of times with use the wick will get charred, but it'll still be functioning. But if it's burnt and melted away, if that coil's gotten way too hot, it's been dry burned too many times, I can't do anything about that. The wick can't be replaced. So most of the time I'm really fair. I mean, unless there's obvious damage of something intentionally being done to the atomizer, outside of just the tube falling off, I can pretty much fix it. And again, I only charge like a $5 fee for the shipping. But most of the time, you know, I can pretty much repair and if not repair, and it's due to a defective atomizer, you know, I can replace it for you. But first things first, I gotta get it here and I gotta take a look at it. It helps me to see the issue and possibly prevent it in the future, and it helps you because I can see exactly what the defect is, and if it is a defect, get you a replacement or get you a repaired atomizer. So that pretty much wraps it up. I hope I've kept it somewhat organized and on topic, and covered as much material as I could in the quickest amount of time, because I know I have trouble doing that and staying clear. But if you think you have any other questions, I mean anything else that wasn't covered in the video, please feel free to contact me through the ticket system if it's relating to a problem with an atomizer that you've purchased, or if you just want to chat about, you know, questions regarding the 357 before you purchase, or what I'd recommend for your device, etc. Feel free at any time to send me an email, and I'll include the email in the info section below this video for you to contact me. So anything HH.357 related that you've purchased, an issue with a 357, ticket system is the best way to contact me. Anything that you just want some information, you want to chat, you want any recommendations regarding the style of 357, etc., just shoot me an email, and I'll try and respond to you as soon as possible. Alright, so I hope that helped. I've consolidated everything as best I could into one video and used the most up-to-date information. So thanks for watching, and I hope you guys enjoy.